Hello, welcome to my today's online class. Today the topic of my discussion is P.B. Shelley's Ode to the West Wind. The Ode to the West Wind is most impressive and the most rapturous of Shelley's poems. It is said that it is lyrics of lyrics. Ode to the West Wind, written near Florence in 1819, and it was published in 1820 in the Prometheus Unbound volume. Shelley personally writes about the composition of the poem that while one day he was sitting near Florence in a forest, suddenly a tempestuous west wind outbreaks there, followed by the rain and thunder. So suddenly changing the entire atmosphere, and this strikes the imagination of the poet. And the result is that he wrote this world famous poem, "Ode to the West Wind." The poem highlights Shelley's prophetic vision of making the golden millennium an ideal world based on the democratic ideals of justice, equality, and brotherhood of the French Revolution. The poem embodies the poet's idea about decay and regeneration. It's a poetic invocation to the west wind to sweep away everything old, decrepit, and dead, to bring about a new pattern of life based on the ideals of French Revolution. The poem is apparently divided into 5 sections. The first 3 sections describe the impact of the west wind on earth, sky, and the sea, respectively. In the last 2 sections, and the last 2 stanzas, the poet becomes intensely passionate and tries to identify himself with the mighty force of the west wind, the timeless west wind, to bring about the revolution on the sleeping earth. Now let me talk about the summary and annotation, chapter-wise or stanza-wise. The first stanza, the west wind, has been described as the wild force, or the mighty or wild force. The poem begins with the line, "The oh wild west wind, the breath of autumn spring." So this is the very soul of, very essence of the autumn. The west wind, with its tremendous force of the autumnal force, drives away dead leaves in autumn, like the ghosts fleeing away from an exorcist, from a magician. The wind also drives like a charioteer the living seeds, or the dead seeds, or the living seeds, better to say living seeds, underground, where they lie buried like corpses during winter. In the spring, the vernal showers brought to by the west wind helps the dormant seeds in germination and blossoming flowers and fragrance there. Thus, the west wind acts as the double roles of destroyer and the preserver, and better to say, the creator of life. Stanza 2, the second stanza, deals with the impact of the west wind in the sky. The west wind blows across the blue sky, causing rain and lightning. Here, there's lots of images used to vividly describe the impact of the west wind. One is that the black cloud is compared to the black disabled hair of Baker's follower, Maynard. Stanza 3, the stanza presents the effect of the west wind on the sea, disturbing the happy summer dream of the blue Mediterranean, and the sea plants trembling in fears at the sound of its approach. Stanza 4. In this section, the poet becomes highly emotional and invokes the west wind to impart him strong strength and inspiration in his utter despair, when he cries out, "I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed." Especially the moment when his soul is chained with heavy hour of his life. In fact, his life's burden and troubles and oppressions afflict his soul. The poet keenly expresses his desire to share the indomitable energy of the west wind. And finally, the poet, in the last chapter, the poet implores the west wind to empower with his force, and appeals to lift him up like a leaf and the cloud and the wave, so that he may share his vigorous impetus and spread his message among the ignorant people. He believes that with the help of mighty west wind, one day he will able to scatter his ideas and help him and he will be able to realize his utopian society. The poem comes to an end with a prophetic vision, or the prophetic hope of the poet that comes after his despair. And that is clear in his firm convictions in the final line of the poem: "If winter comes, can spring be far behind?" Now let me see how far the Ode to the West Wind is a typical Shelleyan poem, or what features of Shelley's poetry is found in this Ode to the West Wind, in this poem, Ode to the West Wind. The After close perusal of the poem, it is clear that the poem powerfully projects the basic characteristics of Shelley's poetry. It brings out his lyricism, his emotional fervor, and the sweeping imagination. That is one of the great features of Shelley's poetry, and his prophetic vision, followed by despair, and of course the final note of optimism. We know Shelley is one of the greatest lyrical poets in English literature. His lyricism abounds most of his poetry, and the lyrical intensity unsurpassed in English poetry. You know, the phrases are like a line like "Oh, lift me as a leaf, a cloud," and the next line "I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed," and the lines like "Be thou spirit fierce, my spirit glow with the fire of emotion." And Shelley is a very highly imaginative writer, imaginative poet. His emotion gets final expression in his imaginative faculty, actually. His imagination soars beyond the mundane regions into the sphere of those clouds and dives deep in below the blue Mediterranean. And he brings us with his imagination, makes us fly into the future with the hope of establishing golden millennium. Shelley, like every romantic poet, is an expert in treatment of nature. This poem is also about it has good use of good treatment of nature. Here he personifies his nature. The poem is about the west wind shown in dual forms, destroyer and preserver. It describes the mighty activities of the west wind and its impact on the wind, clouds, and sky. He makes nature an instrument for spreading his revolutionary ideas to set up a new world, delivered from eagles. Another features of Shelley's poetry is prophetic vision, and we know this is one of the greatest prophetic poem which registers the prophetic visions of Shelley. In fact, the poem embodies the prophetic vision, his hope of an ideal world, a poetic hope of an ideal world free from all sorts of evil and exploitation. His passionate prayer to the west wind to inspire him in scattering his unrealized revolutionary ideas all over the world reveals his prophetic arch. Another feature is despondency and the note of despair. Uh, this poem is marked by this acute tone of despondency. This is clear in lines like "I fall upon the thorns of life," and "I bleed," and lines like "A heavy weight of hours have chained and bowed one to like thee." So, this tone definitely indicative of the tone of personal anguish and sufferings that he underwent in his life and in his society. But the most characteristic features of Shelley is the unfailing positive message, or the message of optimism that comes immediately after the tone of despair. So this poem is no exception. In this poem, we see the typical Shelleyan optimistic tone is very clear. This is evident in the last line, as I have already said, that if winter comes, can spring be find. Shelley believes that winter, the season of suffering and oppression and death, will be one day followed by the season of hope and freedom and joy, that is spring. So this is how the poet captures the poetic vision as well as the poetic optimistic mission of Shelley. Okay. Now let me talk about Shelley's style and structure and the images used in this poem. The poem abounds in images. They are drawn from natural world. Here the images are in most cases similes and metaphors. They are natural, scientific, and mythical. The images such as the quote unquote the leaves dead are driven. Another is like ghost from an enchanter fleeing. Another important image is the pestilence strike and multitudes. The darts of time near, the thorns of life and spirit fears, etc. enhances the stylistic beauty as well as suits to the thematic tune of the poem. Artistically, the poem scales the height of perfection. There is no hazy indistinctness or the digression in the poem. Carefully noticed, it is seen that the poem has a special type of rhyme scheme that is called trirema, and the poem falls into 5 equal verses of chain rhyme that is called trirema. It's like ABA 3-line stanza, ABA interlocking with the next 3 lines BCB, and similarly the CDC with DED and so on. It's a typical or a particular typical scheme of its own making, which well fits in with the passion and feeling of the poem. So the overall discussion makes us say that This is a poem. This is a poem that marks Shelley's typical poetic features.